All right, everyone, welcome to Lolz, the Wednesday night DFS show you didn't know you needed in your life, and then you realized you did. I'm Peter Overzet, joined by my co-host, Brick75, aka Brian Hooper. How we doing?
Fantastic. Doing good. How you doing?
Doing good. Let's give people a rundown of the show tonight. We dodged a COVID bullet. It would appear that we are going to have a golf contest this weekend, so we will be discussing that. Later in the show, in the second half, we are going to be joined by Mr. RBX88. Fun story about this. We were hypothesizing last week on who this mystery figure was that was taking down all of these milli makers. Well, he came out of the woodwork. He slid into my Instagram DMs and he said, "Hey, I'm a real person. I'm a real guy. I'd love to come on the show." So I said, "Yes, let's do it." So he'll be joining us in about 25 minutes. And also we have Brian's going to do a little lesson for us all about randomness. That's been a hot topic that has come up a few times. Whatever optimizer you're using generally has it. So Brian is going to give us the breakdown on that. Brian, I feel like this is our most official show to date with our organization.
Yeah, we actually planned something out for a change. So
yeah, it's and you were on the links today yourself?
Yep, I was today. The front nine went well, and back nine, nothing to write home about.
Yeah. What would you say was your PGA comp for how you played today?
Oh, God. Let's see here. Who's the worst PGA player of all time? How about Smiley Kaufman?
Okay. All right. Did you at least hit any bombs?
I had a few bombs.
Okay.
It's the only reason I go out there is to drop bombs on people.
It's DeChambeau's world. We all live in it. You know how like Steph Curry created this generation of 3-point shooters? You know, everyone want to pull up 4 feet from beyond the arc. I think DeChambeau is going to create this culture of just kids that just want to hit bombs and don't care about anything else.
Possibly, although he is the scientist, so maybe he'd have to change his nickname if he's just going to go straight bombs. Phil Mickelson's the bomb dropper, man. He's all he talks about.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. What is Phil even relevant right now as far as a DFS play? Whenever I make lineups, I'm not getting much Phil Mickelson these days.
His salaries, I think it was like $6,800 this week or something like that, which is dirt cheap. I got him right here, $6,900.
Nice.
5 of the last 11 cuts made. So Phil, I think I've said this before, but like 3 years ago, I loved Phil in DFS. Even though he cost me once because of this, because he's like the kind of, because there's 3 points for a birdie and whatever -1 for a bogey. So guys who get birdie, bogey, birdie, bogey, birdie, bogey, even though they don't take first, they'll get you a lot of fantasy points. So he's that type of player. Like he's super aggressive and risky, and he's awesome short game, so he can make a bunch of strange birdies and stuff. But he's really fallen off a cliff. I don't want to say that because I still like him.
Yeah. But
the last year and a half has been pretty brutal. Do you remember like the low point was probably last year? I think it was a major, but I can't remember where he putted it. And then he like stopped his putt. It was so bad. Like he went around and just stopped it.
Oh, I do remember seeing that clip. Yeah.
And they didn't even kick him out either, probably because he's Phil Mickelson, but I think they just gave him like a 2-stroke penalty or something. But
that's like the equivalent of, again, going back to my NBA analogies because I don't know golf that well, but the superstars get all the calls. Phil Mickelson's allowed to stop his putt before it's done rolling, I guess.
Yeah, that would be like a 20-step no dribble dunk or something. It's pretty egregious.
So I know, the big news with the golf, obviously, it did seem touch and go. I know you were out on the golf course oblivious to all of these happenings, but there was a lot of concern they were going to cancel the whole thing. But the big major fallout is Webb Simpson and Brooks Koepka are not in the field. When you updated your numbers and stuff, did it shift anything around in a really big way for you at all, or was it kind of not a huge shift?
It I didn't do them until right before the show, so I don't know if there was a difference, but like, yeah, of course, it's going to matter for Brooks being out. It's going to change things for sure. So here's the list I got right now: is Chase Koepka, his brother's out, Webb Simpson, Brooks Koepka, Graham McDowell, Cameron Champ, Nate Lashley, and Steve Stricker.
Yeah,
and Daniel Berger, but that was earlier.
Yep.
I don't think there's been any additions. I might have missed that, but anyone who's going to be added to it probably won't matter that much. Scotty Scheffler, it sounds like he is in, and he's kind of in that young studs group that we talk about every week.
Yeah.
And he was out last week, so that's definitely someone to pay attention to in my book anyways.
Yeah.
Chase Koepka doesn't really matter that much, but he's done some things on the Euro Tour.
Yeah.
Mainly it's, Webb and
Berger.
Koepka are out.
Yeah, and when I'm looking at, the highest projected guys, sub 800, it is Scotty Scheffler. I'm seeing Victor Hovland and Jason Day and Ian Poulter. My guy, Ian Poulter. My initial run, he remains my favorite golfer apparently because he's my second owned golfer as of now for this week.
3 weeks in a row. He hasn't let you down 2 weeks though.
I know. And apparently, I was talking with my buddy Matt again too, and he's like, I love how because you're not a big hardcore golf fan, you have no biases about this. Apparently, Ian Poulter's a guy that a lot of golf fans have felt burned by and don't love for, I guess, history that I'm not familiar with.
He's been around for a while, but really because he has been fairly chalky the last year and a half or something like that.
Yeah.
Like I remember I told you that story where he was off the tour and then they recalculated his numbers and he actually stayed on by a couple points or something. So he was basically off the tour and then he's kind of had a nice run since then. But the problem is with like guys like him where they get highly owned sometimes in DFS is then when they do miss the cut, they burn a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
So it can definitely happen. I don't remember that happening to me too much, but I didn't really take him a lot, but he's been performing. Jason Day in that group you mentioned, he's he's gone downhill big time. He had like one or two good tournaments last year, I think though. But I wonder if his back's just gone. Who knows?
Yeah. So we have the four guys up here in the 5-figure club for DraftKings salary. We got Rory, Justin Thomas, John Rahm, and the, darling of everyone right now, Bryson DeChambeau. It seems like conventional wisdom heading out of this, COVID break was, Rory is the best golfer in the world playing top form. He started to burn some people on these Sundays with him fading away. Where are you at with Rory in this top group here? Because it seems like they're all going to be pretty similarly owned.
It's looking like, and I just did this just to get on here, just to get a run through so we could talk about it. So it might change, but it's looking like Rory's going to be my fade, which hasn't been the case the past few weeks. And I'm guessing that's just because of some of the odds on Justin Thomas are pretty high.
Okay.
Like cut line odds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he might just be gobbling up that ownership for me, and they're projected about the same amount owned, and more Bryson than Rahm too. If we're putting Rahm in that group,
yeah.
And right below there, Patrick Cantley. Speaking of DFS darlings, he's pretty much a DFS darling, and I'm probably about match the field, but I'm never shocked when Bryson's projected at 13 or 14 and he ends up at 20. Not Bryson. I'm sorry, Patrick Cantley.
Yeah. Let's take this question here and then we can get into talking about some randomness, and then we will build a lineup with our guest Gio, aka RBX88, at the end of the show. So we'll get some more thoughts exactly on how we're feeling about PGA plays this week. So the question is, how are you guys monitoring risk of guys who might be forced to withdraw after round one who played with Brooks last week? So this is getting deep into the COVID weeds. Brian, are you taking any of this into consideration with your lineups?
Yes. So the only thing I saw on Twitter so far was Shane Lowry played like a 9-hole. This is from some of the guys we followed, Dan Back from RG, and I can't remember someone else. But so he's definitely someone to think about, is because he did play a 9 with someone who just withdrew. Actually, we could probably just go to Dan's Twitter and I can find out the whole story. But so far, he's the only guy that I've seen that you might want to just skip for now. Yeah. So here it is. He played 9 holes. Graham McDowell, who withdrew, said he played 9 holes with Brooks and Lowry.
Okay. So that's definitely something to consider here. Actually, let me just pull this up on the screen share so people can see it. I will share my screen. All right, here we go. So basically said he's pretty sure he's got COVID despite testing negative a couple times. Also happened to play 9 holes with Brooks and Lowry. Now, Brick, I know you are a guy that, you let the math dictate a lot of your plays. So are you going in and kind of manually making some adjustments here that might not be factored into your model?
Yeah. I don't have any Lowry actually for some reason. So maybe the markets know before we do, which is not surprising. But if I did have like a couple shares, I probably wouldn't care. But
Yeah.
if I did have especially in the Millie, because if this news gets around, he's not super high owned projected anyways.
Yeah.
So, it might be worth the gamble. But if you just want to be safe, I would definitely consider taking Lowry out.
Yeah. I was looking at mine. It looks like I'm at 11% Lowry, which is a decent amount. So I might have to rethink that a little bit. And the thing about this is, this isn't just a 1-day slate, right? Like, you're hopefully rostering these guys for 4 days. We know how quickly things can move with this testing and symptoms and all that. So you do have to take a little bit of a longer view. So yeah, I'm going to rethink that a bit.
Yeah, that's true. It could take a few days. Yeah, it's a tough break that this happened. Like, you figure it'd be kind of tough. Maybe they were like hanging out closer than they let on, having drinks or something.
Yeah, that would be the cruelest thing. We were talking last week about how hard it is to get 6 of 6 guys through the cut, and you get your 6 of 6, and then Lowry has to withdraw because of Corona. It's like,
like you're first in the Millie going into Sunday, and then Lowry comes down with a cough or something.
That's brutal.
Oh man.
I meant to ask, did you have any good sweats last week?
No, not really. I think I had a top 100 in the Millie Maker, but
yeah.
No, I had a lot of the -3 guys. Billy Horschel, Ricky Fowler, Kevin Kisner, those guys all just missed the cut. And I had a decent amount of them. So
yeah. Well, we're on to this week, but let's talk some randomness here. I know for people who use optimizers, this is something I've personally had questions about. And I think what you have mentioned is that people sometimes misunderstand exactly what randomness is doing. So I think you're going to share your screen with me here. I'm going to add it, and I'm going to give you the floor.
So with randomness, I guess just briefly, I'm going to use FC, but it would work with any optimizer. Randomness is shown down here. There's FC has 2 different randomness distributions: normal distribution and classic. Normal distribution distributes the random. So randomness basically just takes whatever percentage amount you put, and then there's actually a description right here. No, they used to have a more clear description, but it takes like a percentage of their points and then randomly distributes it for classic. So let's say there's a 10-point change on a player's total point projection based on your randomness, and they have 60 points projected. They'll get anywhere between 50 and 70 points every crunch. Each player, based on however much randomness you give to them, will randomly populate in between those numbers. And normally distributed is just like a normal distributed bell curve. So it's like there's less chance of getting the tail ends, where in classic, you have the exact amount of chance to get any of those points within the 10-point range. I hope that made sense. That was a pretty poor explanation, but I think most people know what randomness is anyways. And you can do this. I think you can pretty much do this on every optimizer now. You can make individual randomness amounts for each player, which is what we'll go over in a second. So the first thing I want to address is what we've kind of been talking about since our MMA stream, where I feel like a lot of DFS players feel like randomness and uniques, the amount of players you'll use in a lineup, is some sort of like solution to picking the right lineups, like some sort of game theory adjustment, right? And so that's kind of what I'm pushing back against. It doesn't really give you any game theory advantages over other people. And the reason I think that a lot of people think it does is because they always ask, like in the Osmo Slack or on Twitter, like how much randomness do you use and what's unique? How many uniques do you use? Right. It's like they kind of think that 33% randomness and 2 uniques is somehow a solution to getting good lineups. Right. But it really doesn't do anything like that. All it does is shuffle the players. That's really all it does. Uniques does something similar too. So the more uniques you add, the more player pool you're going to get. The more randomness you get, the more shuffling it's going to do. But it doesn't necessarily give you any advantage over someone else. So like if Osmo uses 75% randomness, that's not like some game theory edge he has over you. What he's doing, actually, I don't know what he's doing, but what a lot of people could do or should do, and this isn't exactly how I do it anyways, is I just put 20% randomness in here. It doesn't really matter. But when you run your lineups, it's the randomness actually kind of hurts you, because assuming you have good projections, which is the whole point of this, right? We all want to start with good projections, is it's going to put a bunch of bad lineups in there, which we don't want.
Explain that. Why would they be bad lineups?
Because you're going to hit the tail ends of the distribution. So when you use this, 20%, I wish there was if you look at a bell curve, most 95% of the expected numbers are going to be coming in between the top of the bell curve and the 2 tail ends, right? A bell curve goes like this, and the tail ends are the 5% chance of happening. When those 5% happen, there's a reason you don't want that. And in classic randomness, it's going to be even more so because it's a flat distribution. So when you hit the tail ends, so like let's say 6-year golfers hit the tail bottom end of their distribution, you're going to get some garbage lineups, because you're going to get 6 golfers who are projected at 60, or I should say, let's say they hit the high end of their lineups. 6 golfers who are projected at 50 points, they all now have 60, and then that'll make that lineup in there for you. Or it depends, because that's just like 10%. If people do 75, 100%, 150% randomness, you're just going to get. So like here, we could show right now. If I just jack this up, change all players, classic randomness, 150% ownership. Look at the ownership distribution. It went from Rory at 78%, right, to a bunch of 20%ers. Which is fine if like this is what the distribution you might want to end up with in this range. This seems a little low to me, and that's a decent amount of players in your player pool. That's probably too high. But for sure, and this is only 300 lineups, some of these lineups are going to be garbage. And so a quick way you could just check is just sort by projected. And I think in Roto Grinders, theirs is automatically sorted by projection, but I think you could change that. You could just take a look. So the top projected points, and this is just Fantasy Cruncher's default setting. So So don't pay attention to this. They let it be known that their numbers aren't meant to like win you tournaments. So 404 basically, and the bottom one is 323, right? 80 point difference. That's pretty huge. You can, I mean, it's not insane. That's a pretty insane swing between the two. I don't think you want your amount max and minimum that far apart. I mean, and if you are, okay, this is in lieu of adjusting for ownership and stuff like that and figuring out the game theory of that, right? Just a blanket. Why would, if these projections were great, like why would you want to take an 80 point less saying ownership doesn't matter? You never would. You're just giving yourself a shittier shot. And if you can get the same expectation from a lineup with 40 or 50 more points than that, why would you risk it? And so using too much randomness, that can happen. So it's not the end of the world. You could still use 150% randoms or whatever. I mean, I think that's pretty high. And then just lap off a bunch of the garbage lineups. Right? Mm-hmm. So like if we did, let's say, what's about middle here maybe? Let's see what this looks like. Okay, yeah, that's good enough. There. So I just lapped off the bottom half, and now Rory went back up. So now what this did is it shuffled a whole bunch of lineups compared to the 20% normal, right? There's a whole bunch more lineups being shuffled. It has more players in there, and you could go in there and tinker with it to get your player pool down. You can get rid of what Manny Laura calls these apple bottoms here, the 1%ers, maybe even the 2%ers. And I'm not saying like this is some sort of a great strategy here. I'm just trying to give like the idea of what people think that randomness somehow solves a bunch of issues for them. And so, it doesn't. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So one question that I've had is, in something you'll see is, say there's a extreme, this doesn't happen in golf as much, but say there's an extreme value punt play. We've seen it with MMA recently where a fighter withdraws. And so now the guy who was maybe a -110 is now like a -600 favorite, and his salary is still really affordable. So if you run your lineup run, you're going to get, maybe 80 to 90%, maybe even 100% of him because he's such an incredible value. If you ratchet up the randomness, then all of a sudden he's going to come down and maybe you only have 50%. How do you think about randomness, both for like extreme value plays where it's just like he has to be basically in your lineups, and also for sports with a lot of dupes?
Well, those are like two different, pretty different strategy that you need to really think about. So like dupes, you don't want a ton of dupes. So you got to do everything you can to not get dupes. I don't care what the value is.
Right.
If you're going to have a 268 duped League of Legends lineup, you're just throwing money away.
Right.
And same thing for MMA or NASCAR, any of the high dupe sports. You don't want the dupes. And then I don't care about value. If my dupes are, and you could try to figure out how to project dupes. Is something you should try. And then I don't care. I'm not allowing. I'm trying to figure out how many dupes I'm going to have and then get rid of all the so I don't care about value at that point. But if you just like leave dupes aside and value, and how could you use randomness to like help you make your decision, is like slate over slate. So like in the MMA example where the fighter's out, you can compare. Let's say you do 75% randomness is your go-to number, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what happens in let's say your process has been the same the last 3 weeks, the last 3, Saturdays for fights. What you have to recognize, like, what's the difference each time? So, like, if I'm putting in 75% randomness and getting, 50% is my highest owned fighter for the way I build my lineups, but then this week it's like 80 or 90. Well, that's good because you're doing the exact same process. You're putting a bunch of randomness on there, and this guy's still popping up. So like, it's not like that's like it's just a good example of like, wow, okay, this guy definitely is a ton of value. Now you have to go the next steps and adjust for ownership, figure out dupes, right? And then lop off lineups even after you do all that are just garbage from using so much randomness.
Yeah.
But like, if a guy's high value, like, again, you have to, like, let's say there is no dupe issue and there is no ownership issue. Well, then you just use the guy with a high value. The only reason you're not using him is because of ownership. It's not because of randomness.
Right.
Right. That's all just game theory stuff. It's not randomness. Randomness will shuffle him enough to get him lower. And it depends on how much randomness you use and how much of high value he actually is based on each slate. So some slates, that high value might not be in a ton of laps. Some slates it might.
So would you say then, to put kind of a button on this, that the value of using randomness ultimately is to present more lineups for you to review and then make decisions on? Because if you don't, you're going to get a specific set.
No, I think it's just for shuffling. But there is one thing I want to go over, that how you can use randomness to help your game.
Yeah.
So what I was in part one there, I was just explaining, like, this is how I think most people think randomness is. And obviously DFS players are all a snowflake. They all have their own unique process. But that's kind of the general idea I get when people talk about randomness, right? But here's how you can actually use randomness in a useful game. You know, I guess it's not really game theory. It's kind of just more using math. But okay, so let's just use just 20% and 2 uniques. This isn't like the one. It's not how I do it specifically. It's just, whatever. It's just something to use. So let's do a quick run here. So everyone's got the same amount of randomness, right? And I took Mark Hubbard and made his projection the same as Vaughn Taylor because they have the same salary.
Mm-hmm.
So after this runs, you'll see, okay, they both have basically the identical ownership percentage, right? 26 and 27%. If I would have ran 500, it probably would have equalized at some point. But I'm sure they're about exactly the same linership. Now let's move. It doesn't really matter, Hubbard or Taylor. Let's just change that one guy's ownership. I'm sorry, randomness. And then run the crunches. So here we go. Now look at this. Vaughn Taylor's now got 22 points more ownership, even though they're identical players.
Because you're tapping into more of his higher range of outcomes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what you could do with randomness, if you want, is this is that boom or bust. The reason this works is because in a video I did a while ago, like a boom or bust video, I don't remember what I titled it, but I use like an example of horses. This is that in practice, that video. So I don't need to recap it, but you can go watch if someone wants to. When you have the same exact horse, I guess, or player, and one of them has a higher boom bust, which is exactly what randomness does, you're going to get, and there's more than one racer, you're going to get more of the other one. So this is a way where you don't have to mess with the guy's projection. If you think they have a higher upside, if you handicap it where they have a higher upside, if you run standard deviation numbers on individual players and you really trust those, and one guy's higher than another, where you could go in and individually change their standard deviation. I'm sorry, their randomness based on the standard deviation, or however you want to do it.
Gotcha.
And it doesn't have to be this extreme either, right? Like you could just think, like, do we got another comparable one here? It doesn't really matter. Let's say Stuart Sink, even though he's an old golfer, so you probably like him too. If he was, let's say you thought because he's old as hell, he's got a better chance of winning it more often. But like his projection should be the same and his miscut is the same, but you just think when he gets hot or something like that. You could up him a little bit, and then you're going to get a few more of them. So it doesn't even have to be this dramatic of a 80% difference.
Gotcha.
But you could do that with, 6, 10, 12 different guys. And then it kind of organically will pick out those guys in more lineups without messing with their projection. Gotcha. Especially if you trust your projections or you're paying for them or whatever. So that is actually using randomness, in a, thought out mathematical manner. The other stuff is just shuffling it. It's not giving you anything. Now, if you, go and lineup rewind, which I don't know if people know, you can go up here and you go into this lineup rewind page and it goes back to past tournaments. I think it's free too, so anyone can use it. And you could check and see like put in your old projections or put, what you think, and then it could test it against actual events and see how you did. And you could go in and and play around with this stuff there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I would do. That's how I would do randomness. So I would put in however much you feel comfortable. The more you do, the more you're gonna have to lop off. If your exposure is too high, you can put in more, lop off more after that, or more, maybe 2 uniques. I wouldn't really go much higher than that, but I guess you could. And then individually personalize the randomness for each player.
Awesome. Well, there you guys go. If you guys have any follow-up questions on randomness, feel free to leave them in the comments on Brian's YouTube. I'm sure he would pop over there and answer those. But without further ado, let's bring on the man of the hour, the mysterious RBX88, Mr. Gio Demers, the Millie Maker God himself. Thank you for joining us on Lolz.
Hey, what's up, Peter? Hey, Brian.
Hey, man. How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Thanks for coming on. Good.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, so I mean, we said we wanted to have you on for an interview, but really what's going on here is Brian and I are in a bit of a cooler right now. And so we thought we'd bring you on and just, because you're scorching hot, maybe we'd get some of your runoff run good.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah. You might regret this.
Yeah.
I just tuned in. I was watching what Brian was doing with Cruncher.
Nice. Yeah. So we definitely have lots of questions for you. Although I first want to, as the sausage gets made, because we were joking around last week about who's this mysterious RBX 88. How I got a DM from you on Instagram. And then I think one of your buddies also sent me a DM on Twitter. How did you guys catch wind that we were talking about you?
Well, he was a friend. I told him to message you because I don't have Twitter. I had Twitter, and it got hacked, and I never made a new one, so I had to delete it all. They made all these tweets. They were doing all these random tweets and changing my profile picture, and I was like, all right, got hacked. I'm just deleting it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so, are you going to try to get back on now that you got some media heat on you, man?
Nah, I'm not really a social media guy too much, so I just leave it how it is. Awesome.
So, the mystery and intrigue around all of your wins too had to do with you had recently made a Roto Grinders profile. How long have you actually been playing DFS?
I would say 3 years, I think. Okay. 3 years. I've been playing poker professionally since I was 18 years old.
Okay.
And my friend introduced me to DFS. And I was like, I don't like it. And then I was so cracked out, and I was I just kept playing it, and I was really bad. And then I just kind of trial and error figured it out on my own.
That's awesome. I'm going to also pull up on the screen here, just so if people aren't familiar with what, I'm going to switch over to my screen here. Brian Jesters had this tweet a little while ago. So I'm going to pull this up for here. So for you guys that aren't aware, this is Gio's run here. Millie win December 15th, a second December 29th, second January 11th, then more recently 6th in the Millie MMA, and then you took it down June 14th again. Were you aware, do you have your own spreadsheet chronicling all these things, or when you see it here, is it oh yeah, that happened?
It's just unreal to me, because I heard Brian say, On the other one you did that, he said it was insane. It's just like unheard of, and that like people play this, every week for years and they don't win. It's obviously a lot of luck too, but you have to set your lineups to the best you can to give you the best chance to win. So,
Brian, I know you're just seething with jealousy over there. Do you have any questions for RBX88?
Yeah. I first question is, did you steal that clock in your background from my high school algebra class?
I got that clock from Walmart for like $5, like when I moved into here.
I feel like I'm just waiting for class to get over so I can go smoke in the parking lot or something.
Brian's just excited to have someone on the show with a more mundane background than his, So.
Yeah.
It sounds like our background is pretty similar. I played poker for a living for a while till Black Friday. I'm surprised you stuck with it.
Well, in New Jersey, WSOP and Borgata Online is legal here, so there's like a ton of games always.
Okay. I'm looking at your June 6 MMA lineups, in Cruncher. I'm sorry, in lineup study. Do you go? How do you handle dupes in MMA? Do you do anything about it?
To be honest, I really don't. I really haven't done MMA or really golf that much. I didn't realize that I had. I didn't realize the lineup study until not too long ago. So then I was realizing that I had dupes in like my golf and stuff, and I know how to prevent that.
Okay.
So I was listening to you on the Roto Grinders podcast, and you almost made it sound with MMA and golf that you got into this just because you were bored with no other.
Bored, yeah.
That was it.
I was literally bored. Yeah, I was like, I can't go this long without I love basketball; it's my favorite sport, and I just I can't go much longer. Like I'm feeding to just send in 150.
And is that your preferred? Do you play a bunch of different contest types, or do you just fire the 150 at whatever the biggest contest is?
It depends. I'll just fire like the singles too. I'll fire like the $20 3 max or whatever it is, and football I'll do like the 150 3 max. But yeah, for the most part, I do the one that's the 150 that you can max it out, the biggest one.
Do you tailor your lineups to the specific contest, or do you just run it and just wherever you put them, that's where the chips fall?
No, and that's like the maxes, I'll just play a little. I'll go a little more conservative and take some like little shots on guys than in like the bigger one.
And so, obviously to win these top heavy Millie Maker prizes, you have to have kind of a contrarian mindset, taking some stands. Are you kind of, you've mentioned that you're a bit of a field player. Are you going in and kind of manually setting your exposures for some of these players that you think might be undervalued relative to their ownership?
Yeah, for sure. If I think a guy is not projected right, I'll just boost him up a little bit. And like what I did with the Millie with Kenyon Drake, I wasn't getting much of him, but I boosted him a lot. I forget how much I took, but I had like maybe 10x the field on him or 8x the field for sure.
And were you doing that just manually adjusting his projection?
Um,
I didn't manually do it. I just boosted him.
He was like 4% owned that week, I think.
Yeah. It's like I think it was 4 or 3%. He was.
Yeah, maybe.
And
we got a question in YouTube from OA. Question for RBX. What's the secret sauce to math ratio?
Secret sauce to math ratio.
That's his question. And his follow-up is, what's your favorite sport that you have not binked?
Are there any?
Well,
I guess he's asking you if you do any math in your modeling or anything like that.
Not so much. I just go based on how players been doing. I let the model cruncher do its job. And then make my own adjustments. I don't do much math at all, and like in poker, I really haven't always done math either too much. So,
go ahead.
Do you in poker? Do you subscribe to the like GTO strategy?
No, I honestly came up with my own style, and everyone's like, 'cause I play PLO, and everyone's like, dude, how do you do it, man? Like, and I tell them, I just feel in the based on the situation. I don't mean to play GTO style. I've been, winning in PLO for the last 6-7 years.
And the environment now is just New Jersey. You play on?
Yeah. There's some like other sites you can play on, like America's Card Room.
Yeah.
They have that site.
Play there, and I heard it's kind of sketchy.
It is. There's a lot of regulars on there, and these guys all practice GTO. They're all really good. I'm like probably like a break-even player on there, maybe up really small. But the other guys, all these Euro guys, are just fucking insane. They just do like they use the Munker program. It pretty much tells you like you plug in a hand, they tell you what to do and what situation. I mess with that a little bit, so I have an idea of it. It's really tough to use though.
Mm-hmm.
When you mentioned that for DFS that you're a field player, a lot of there's the kind of winds that blow with ownership. You'll see, a guy get mentioned on a podcast or on Twitter, and all of a sudden ownership starts,
right.
ticking up. But you mentioned that you aren't on Twitter. How much of it are you relying on someone else's ownership projections, or is that feel based on you kind of reading the market yourself?
Reading the market for myself. If I see a lot of players from like different podcasts or that are on guys, I'll just fucking X them. So I just don't care. I'm not. And I just realized like, oh, this guy's like 30% for like no reason at all, and he just throws up like a goose egg, nothing. So if a guy starts getting ownership, I'll just come off him for sure.
Did you play Ian Poulter?
Last week?
Sure.
Did I play him? I played
Just
a
be
little.
careful. This is an Ian Poulter podcast. So
I think I played a little bit of him. I just gave whatever it gave me. But I know he was a little chalky too. But there's a lot of guys who were up there that were kind of chalky though, right?
Yeah,
every week.
He was pretty chalky last week. So
it was like 16.5, something like that.
Yeah. And then this week, it looks like he's going to be coming in pretty, at least under 10%. So, it's time to get heavy on Poulter again.
Go ahead. When like in football, when a guy's like high and then when he's low on, that's when I like taking a shot on him. This is just how I always played DFS.
When he's high?
No, when he gets high owned, I usually don't like to take him. But when he's low owned, I like to take a nice shot on him when no one's on him.
So what it sounds like is that you'll let your optimizer kind of fill out like the middle chunks for you, but then on the tails, you're going to make some hard stances of either just Xing out a high owned guy or being like, I'm going to go way over the field on a low owned guy. Would that be a fair characterization?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. And are you making those kind of decisions solely based on ownership? Where do you, for PGA, and I say this as someone who knows nothing about how to evaluate golf, like how are you making stances of like, I think, Kokrak, right, was in when you're winning Millie Maker lineup.
Yeah.
How are you like, Kokrak is going to go off? Where do you get your ideas, man?
No, that's what the model gave me. Like for like the 10% or less guys, I just let it give me whatever. But like for like the guys that are like in the middle price range or like the higher price range, I just try to the guys who I feel that have a shot are really doing well. I mean, Kokrak, he's just like a shot in the dark. I mean, I didn't expect him to do that. But just like the higher guys, I just kind of go on how high owned they're going to be and just like their prices and what everyone else is saying about them, really.
So if you don't model yourself, what are you using?
I use Fantasy Cruncher.
You use their projections?
No, I use Awesimo's projections.
Oh, okay. And I think I listened to your Roto Grinders interview as well, and it sounds like your core got crushed that week.
It did.
And that lineup was kind of a one-off.
Right, it was. My core got absolutely demolished, and it kept on hanging on, and I was just like, "This would be insane if this one-off holds on."
That's happened quite. I've seen that a bunch of time in Millie Makers. What would you try? Do you consciously try to cap your player pool size in PGA?
Yeah, I usually go in over 40.
No more than 40.
Yeah, I put like everyone at 40. And then whatever gives me the most of it, it's 40. But I think I find that's like the most optimal because golf's so volatile. Like anything can really happen.
It sure is.
So I feel like the question, they always ask, like Michael Jordan, he keeps winning these Millie Makers. They're like, is this the one that meant the most? Is it still the first Millie Maker that was the most incredible feeling, or was getting it a second time? Where did that compare?
I would say the first time was more memorable because I actually handmade that lineup. So I had pretty much a friend of mine told me I only took a few quarterbacks that week. I think I took like 4 or 5, and then the last 10 minutes before lock, my friend mentioned Winston. We were talking about it, and I kind of was like, yeah, I'm kind of like a Winston with, I think Evans was out, he got hurt. So I was just like, all right, let me stack a few and put in my favorite plays and all like the good chalk and just let it fly.
That's incredible. Yeah, I heard you mention that you had made your 150, but then you decided to hand build a few, and that was the one that took it down.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I put Drake in like a few of them. I think I had like 2 or 3 Winston. I forget what it was, but I definitely put Drake in both or one of them.
And I heard you. So on the Roto Grinders podcast, you mentioned you bought an SUV, you bought a house, but I was peeping your Instagram stories yesterday, and it appears you also bought a Tesla.
I just bought it like yesterday or 2 days ago.
Okay, so you're loading up, man, spending some of those DK bucks.
Yeah. I mean, why not? My friend of mine, he talked me into it, and I drove in his. The car is absolutely insane. Like when I go down, I take a long trip. Like I have an SUV, a V8. I get maybe 17 miles per gallon on that thing. So if I take a long trip, I can take the Tesla to drive it for me.
There you go.
Did you ball out and pay cash?
For the Tesla, I actually leased it because I have like 3 other cars too. So
okay.
I have a Mitsubishi Evolution. I don't know if you ever heard of them. It's like a Japanese turbo car, 4-cylinder, 10-second car.
It seems like you like to mass multi-enter vehicles as well.
I definitely like to spew on the vehicles, yeah.
That's good. And speaking of spewing, in my, when I've lived out my fantasies of winning the Millie Maker, one of the things is like, okay, I'm about to get hit with a big tax bill on this. Why not use this as a license to, splash around in some higher stakes? Are you feeling that same way, or did you just take it all off the table and you're buying vehicles?
No. The only thing I bought was, I always wanted a house. I bought the house, I bought the car, and that's it. I don't even buy clothes. I have clothes back from since I was in high school.
There you go. So you're a relatively frugal man outside of the wheel.
Yeah. I just, on things that I really enjoy and I like. That's why I don't buy like fancy clothes, jewelry. I mean, the lamps and shit in my house I got from fucking Walmart.
Oh, we know. We see the clock.
Yeah, it says I just looked up. You're not in the 888 for PGA?
No.
I feel like you should enter. As
what's the max entries for that? I didn't even check.
What's the what?
Max entries for that?
60, I think, something like that.
60? Was it that high?
Yeah, I think so. Let me look. I'm sorry, it's 37.
Oh, you're a little off there.
I am a little off. I guess that's why you're the Millie Maker.
I just I don't know. I just don't feel like I need to play that. So I just have fun enjoying, playing the medium stuff, like those mid stakes, the 20s, and like the single entries. I just don't really like golf enough to play that high. Maybe once football comes around, I'll start playing that, or basketball for sure. Yeah. But the basketball coming up, I think what do you think they're going to have? Single slates showdowns, or how do you think they're going to do it?
I doubt they'll do I mean, they'll have showdowns, I'm sure, but they'll probably have a full day slate. I haven't seen what the schedule is, but I heard it was going to be like they're going to play like 6 games a day.
Yeah. But it's going to be like early and then like later on, so it's going to be really hard to.
They have late swap for DK, so I imagine they'll probably do. It'll probably be broken up into 2 slates on FanDuel, something like that. They'll do like the noon and 3 and noon 2, 3 and 1 slate, and then on DraftKings they'll probably do an all-day slate, I would guess, or they might switch it up, and do like a 4 and 2. I doubt it's just going to be 6 showdowns,
right?
But with the amount of interest they're going to get, they might have showdowns for all 6 of them. I could imagine. I could see that.
I can see DK doing that.
But they're not going to. I mean, they're going to. I mean, obviously, I could be wrong, but I think they're going to have some semblance of 4 games or more,
right,
in their slates.
Well, Gio, I don't know if you've gotten a chance to look at all over this PGA slate, but the past couple of weeks, Brian and I have been making a lineup together.
Okay.
And we specifically, again, as I mentioned at the top of the show, would love to make a lineup with you. We can, settle with PayPal, because we want some of this heat. We want some of this RBX 88 run good. Do you want? Right. Are you down to go in on a lineup with us?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
Okay. So basically, there's kind of 2 ways we can do this. We can either ping pong around in giving our favorite plays, or we can collectively try to build a good lineup. I think that's the latter. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, that sounds good. Are we going to do any rules, Peter? What do you think?
So the one rule he's referencing, Gio, is we set kind of an ownership cap. We've been a little bit flexible with it. Brian,
like 70 or 60 or something?
Yeah, we're somewhere around there.
Okay.
60 if we want to be, keep it, make it difficult.
Yeah. Let's keep it under 60. How about that?
Yeah, let's keep it interesting. 60 is good.
All right.
So let's give you, Gio, the honors of opening it up.
Okay.
Out of the price, if you have a favorite play that you've been looking at, doesn't matter if it's super contrarian. It's all you.
Okay. Well, I can tell you this. I am not playing Neiman this week. There's no chance.
Okay. Oh, yeah? Why not?
I am not. He's going to be like 18% for what? All right, Brian, tell me this. If he got top 20 last week, will he be 18% this week?
No, definitely not.
Okay, yeah.
I like Joaquin Neiman. I think he's super.
Well, we'll see who's right. You want a side bet?
and a young guy. Well, I mean, I don't know what the bet would be.
I guess if he, what is he projected for? How many points?
Let me check.
We can just go under over, I guess.
And I will
57.5.
57.5.
Yeah.
I'll take the under on that.
Okay, I'll take the over on it. I mean, let me see if I even have him in any of my lineups.
Well, how much we talking here? How much you want to bet?
You said the Tesla, right, Brian?
Yeah, right.
You get to throw a gentleman's wager on there. Whatever.
$500, something. Is that gentleman's?
Okay. I don't know if I even like this pick. Hold on. Let me look. I do like Joaquin Neiman. I just don't know if I'm going to play him.
I am looking. It does look like he's going to be one of the top 5 highest owned guys on this slate. Looks like the other guys: Hovland, Thomas, DeChambeau.
Right. What the hell?
Okay, we'll do 500.
And then I'll make him my next pick in this lineup just to fuck you. No, I'm kidding.
That'd be hilarious.
I just want to. So we were gonna. This lineup is what, $20 divided by 3, so it's gonna be about $7.30. You opened up with a guy you didn't want and just got roped into a $500 bet on what was gonna be a $7.30 investment.
I love Joaquin. Why not?
Okay, back to the matter at hand. Who are you picking for the lineup?
Okay, I have it up on here on my end. I'm going to just give me a quick. I did look over. I didn't make my lineups yet. I was going to make them later on.
This is a safe space. Any takes are fine.
Yeah.
I will go. I'm really feeling Mark Leishman.
Okay.
I like that. He's
and
he's kind of been down. down in some of these tournaments recently, but he's got a ton of talent.
He's a
guy who can go off.
I was just gonna say, to take the pressure off of Gio. I don't know if you probably didn't see, Brian, but I looked at our lineup from last week. I think there was like 135,000. We were 130,000 plus. So we were, bottom 99th percentile lineup last week.
But that's good. Because if that lineup goes off,
first or last,
we're first.
See, that's the thing. Brian and I have the last part. Gio's got the first part taken care of.
There we go. So we'll end up right in the middle.
All right, Brian. Let's go over to you here.
What do you guys think about this? I don't want to actually make a pick unless you guys like it. Because we want to keep it like under 10%, right, to fit in our goal per player.
Right.
And so I had Leishman for over that. I had him like 12, 13. I got Spieth under 10. Is he Millie worthy, do you think?
He scares me because he has so much money he doesn't even care, it seems like.
My next pick though would be Peter's pick. So I can't do it to you.
No, because then I get 2 picks. Go for it.
No, because then Poulter shit the bed and then I'm the one to blame. How about Billy Ho?
Okay.
He'll keep us under. He missed the cut last week, so hopefully his ownership's even lower.
Yeah, what do you have his ownership at?
9.
Okay.
What do you might maybe he'll get to 7 or 8. But the fields are getting a lot sharper and ownership doesn't change as much. Although with Joaquin Niemann, that is a little high, 18% or whatever.
Yeah, that's scary. I mean,
yeah,
I'll stop playing him. He hasn't even look at his past results. He hasn't really done that well.
Yeah, and he's so young. He can easily miss the cut.
Right.
But he's got a lot of talent, in my opinion.
Okay. I'm just gonna get my guy then. I said this was a Poulter podcast. People have been calling me PD Poulters. I'm just gonna lean into it.
Do we get any vetoes? Do we get veto power? Is that allowable?
No, this is an open conversation, but you just told me you were going to pick Poulter, so I know you wouldn't.
I mean, he pitched it last week. He really pitched it.
Well, on Sunday,
he just fell apart.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: I never have sweats on
years
Sunday,
old.
so I don't know.
Well, guys that old tend to get tired by the 4th round. You know what I mean? He's like 86 years old, so you're going to want to get a big lead going into Sunday.
Yeah. Look at this man. Could he ever let you down? I don't think so.
3 weeks in a row, you're taking this guy.
That's right, baby. 3rd time's the charm.
He probably was our highest scoring player on that garbage lineup we entered last week.
He was. Okay. It is back to you, Gio. This is a real pivotal point in this lineup here.
Can you tell me what percent we're at right now?
Oh, yeah, Brian, give him
Yeah. It's 15, 20, like 27.
27, okay.
So you got a little to work with.
All right. So I'm between 2 right now, and I like these 2 a lot this week. It's between Cantley and Patrick Reed. It's a tough one.
Okay, well they're owned about the same, and they'll be owned about enough to keep us within around 60. So either one would work. Cantley, I don't know if you were watching the beginning of the show. He's a DFS darling. He might be over. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes over what everyone's projecting. Everyone loves him. He's a stud though.
Right.
And with Reed missing the cut last week, maybe he'll be a click or 2 lower.
I think I like the bounce back, and also I do like Sung Jae a little bit too.
Yeah, I like all 3 of those.
Yeah, it's really tough. I'm having a tough time with all these guys.
I like if I can chime in here. I mean, I think Sung Jae is going to be pretty high owned.
Yeah.
I kind of like going back to Reed. He was my highest owned guy last week, burned me, and I do think, like Brian said, that people aren't going to want to go back to him as much.
Yeah, I agree. And also Cantley, he hasn't played in a little bit either. It might be a little rusty.
With Cantley though, with his back issues, he kind of takes a lot of time off. So I wouldn't be super scared of that just because he does it all the time. He takes months off, months off. But either way, I'm fine with either way. I like Cantley, but Reed's fine.
Yeah, I definitely like a good bounce back for Reed.
So that, Ryan, what puts us at about 40?
Yeah. Well, what did I say? 27 before that?
Yeah.
And then another 15 to that.
Yeah. So we have about 10 per, but we have 9,100 of salary to work with here.
Basically, it's taking everyone who missed the cut last week.
Bounce back.
Why don't I name a few guys and you guys tell me if you like any of these guys? What's the salary? What salary are we looking at here?
We got 9,100 per.
We got plenty of salary. So this is why it's tough to stay under the 60 mark, because all these guys in the 9,000 range are going to be owned, and they're going to get us over that. So we might have to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
Unless we want to spend like $1,000 less than the cap.
How much salary was left on the table for your Millie Maker PGA team, Gio?
0.
Max it out.
Yeah. Which is probably why I got dupes.
But the Millie wasn't duped, right?
No, it wasn't. That was the only one that wasn't. That was the one right before when I looked that was not duped.
Wow.
Run better.
Brian, what are your ones you're considering here?
Like it's tough because they're all so high owned up in this range, but like Paul Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
there's not a lot.
What about Xander?
I like Xander. He's 17 projecting somewhere around there.
What if we did Xander and then got real kind of off the board with like a sub 5% play?
Okay.
What if we went like all right, this is what we should do. Take a stud and then just take like a 6K guy or like a low 7s.
Yeah,
like
that's kind of
3%. Yeah, okay.
I guess it just ownership agnostic. Who are your guys' favorite top end guys? Because we can certainly afford it.
I think Bryson's going to be way higher than what he's projected for. I think that they're just going to look. They're just going to game block. They're just going to game block and just. I think he'll be over 20.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about him. You're probably right. I like JT.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like JT too. He heated up. He left on a really good note last week. He heated up nice.
Yeah, and he's a stud. So
yeah.
I mean, there's no way we're fitting under the cap. I don't think. Well, I guess if we take. No, because he would put us in this over 60 already.
But do we think that we can – because the main concern, right, is can we get a guy that would make this lineup not duped, right? That's really the main concern.
I'm sure if we don't want to play by the rule, the 60% rule, which I don't care, that's fine.
Rule number 1 is win $1 million. Rule number 2 is fitted under the arbitrary threshold we came up with.
Okay, so let's just look then down in 74 range and then see what we got there, and then if
your boy Kokrak is 7,400.
We can go just 400 under too, can't we?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm fine with that.
You want to scroll down to that so I can see? I don't have the.
Right.
Okay. Benny Ann, a lot of people must hate his guts. He's played horrible the past few weeks.
Yeah, he's been a horror show for sure.
We already talked about the COVID risk with Lowry.
Yeah, it'd be funny to take him, but I kind of like Brandon Grace in this range.
I had someone on my notes that was low that I really liked. Let me just see if I can find it.
I have a guy here too that is actually one of my highest owned guys. I have a ton of Lucas Glover as of right now.
How about Johnny Vegas?
Yeah, he can always come. He can always get hot.
I think we have to trust Gio here. The dude just has the Midas touch.
That's true. If that's the
or we can go with Louis Oos.
I want your pick. I want your gut pick.
Yeah, because
I see Vegas and I see dollar.
I see Vegas and that guy can pop.
Oh,
if he putts a little well, I mean that guy he's gonna be like 2% or 3%.
Yeah, he will.
There's no way this lineup's duped unless one of our listeners.
No, this lineup, Unless someone watching this copies our life.
I mean, I always think that Vegas or Oos, however you say his last name.
Yeah, Oosthuizen.
Yeah, Oosthuizen. He's 72. But I was looking at his stats, and they're not that great, though. Vegas, I looked at his. He's good in some areas.
Yeah. Oosthuizen is a withdrawal candidate every week, too.
Oh, so, really? Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's bummed out a lot of DFSers.
Of us three, which of us is getting up in the morning to check any withdrawals?
I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm up till like 5, 6 a.m. anyway. So
okay, well, I'm the opposite.
Wow.
He's still a poker player. So
yeah. So
goodness. Well, between the two of you, you should have the whole shift covered, and I can just sleep through the night. Sounds like
yeah. Well, not when we DM you to go like, dude, switch it.
I know. Yeah. Okay. Well, this was a lot of fun. This is the lineup we're gonna roll with. I like it. I feel like we're on a heater. We brought RBX88 into the mix, and he's gonna turn around our cold stretch. Gio, thank you for coming on the show tonight.
No problem, man. It's been fun. Anytime.
And is there anything? I know you're on the gram, no Twitter. Is there anything you'd like to plug? Your Roto Grinders profile? I don't know.
I mean, much my Instagram. That's fine.
There you go.
It's
Look him up.
Private, but just add me and I'll accept.
Yeah, he'll know. You got to slide into those private DMs. Say you're a Lolz listener. He'll know you're a good guy, and he'll add you. All
Brian,
right,
what about our side bet?
Oh yeah,
57.5.
All right, let me just write it down. 57.5. All right.
I'll take the over. You take the under.
Yeah.
If for some miracle it lands on 57.5, we push.
Okay.
500.
Okay, and then where can I contact you since I don't have Twitter? Do you have Instagram?
Well, I'll let you know if I lose. It might be tough to get a hold of me, but I think Peter has. Yeah, Peter's got your info.
Okay,
I'm on Twitter. Roto Grinders. Awesome.
I can just message in Roto Grinders.
On my YouTube channel. It's not hard to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Yeah. This guy's got to flee the country if he
Brian, no slow paying either.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Brian's ready to risk it all.
Wait, if he gets COVID, is there any bonus or no? That's it. I'm out. I feel like I should win the bet if he gets COVID or if it's over 57.5.
Yeah.
Look at Brian angling for a little extra.
I'm kidding.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, Gio, for coming on. Honestly, dude, incredible run. It was fun to pick your brain. And as usual, guys, if you want to watch these back, check out Brian's YouTube channel. He's going to put up a clip too of the randomness segment if you want to rewatch that back. So for Gio, for Brian, for myself, we'll see you guys next week. This has been Lolz.